Welcome to the NBA Coast to Coast podcast, brought to you by thelines.com. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined by my guy Nate Weitzer on the East Coast. And we are looking at our favorite video of the night each and every weekday. Nate, it is our player props. Another 4-0 last night on a pretty big Wednesday slate. Tonight we're looking at a pretty small NBA slate here to choose from on these player props, but we do have some stuff for you guys here. Do want to make sure you're liked and subscribed to that page. Continue to follow along. Can also check out the other game videos we have up for you each and every weekday. Also want you to head to thelines.com. That's where you can go ahead and check out all of our great written content every day. Nate's picks are up on there, including these player props, and our great odds finder tool is on there, so you can go ahead and make sure that you are shopping those lines and player props to the best of your ability across U.S. sportsbooks this NBA season. Nate, let's go ahead and get into your first prop of the night here.
Desmond Bane, with the Grizz taking on the Kings in Sacramento, that totals at 236, much higher than any other game on the slate. Sacramento, historically awful against shooting guards, as in historically over the last 5 years. They've been one of the worst teams out there. Bane has done his part, averaging 23 points and nearly 4 boards on 67 100 splits in his last 3 against Sacramento. That's on a 25% usage rate and over just 28 minutes per game. But this year, it's been Bane and Ja, just I go, you go, and Memphis has been getting into some shootouts, including their last game where he had a 30% usage rate and scored 38 points against those sorry Nets. That coincidentally was the first time that two teams had guys scoring over 35 in the same game since the highest scoring game in NBA history, I believe. So that tells you what you need to know about Bane and Ja being the offense right now for the Grizz. On the season, his peripheral stats are up too because he's playing more, he's getting more usage, he's averaging 4 rebounds and 6 assists. So if you want to just take over 19.5 points, I think that makes sense. But I like either 23.5 points, rebounds, or assists, because Sacramento's playing, they're at the 7th fastest pace right now. They're 22nd in defensive rating. It's just the same old where they're getting up and down the floor and giving up a ton of peripheral stats in that sense. So Bane should be able to get there either way. If you like the Grizz to win, Bane 20 points in a win is plus 200, and you get slightly better odds if you take him 5 or 6 rebounds in the win at FanDuel. There you get a nice bonus there at like plus 260.
Yeah, Desmond Bane no longer a nice cheap DFS play as he might have been for a bit last season. I think everyone really was waiting for maybe Dylan Brooks to be the sort of number 2 in Memphis. Desmond Bane has clearly assumed that role and is a very, very strong another backcourt mate for Ja, who I will talk about in a second as well. But for my next prop, Nate, I'm talking about Mr. Christian Wood. Once again, why not feel comfortable about him? We talked about him a ton in the game video there about the Nets and the Mavs. Over 19.5 points for Christian Wood is minus 108 on FanDuel. For just the 19.5, we talk about the rebounds with him as well. Brooklyn has a terrible defensive rebounding team, actually the worst defensive rebound rate in the league. So I don't mind adding the rebounds, but just the 20 points for him, that's probably going to be his average this season. And what was sort of a prediction according to a lot of models was that 20 points a game for him. And probably if he stays on the bench, the 6th man of the year award. On the season, 24.5 points. Those splits crack me up. 62, 61. That's field goal and 3-point, and then 63 from the free throw line. Like, it's a nice stroke, Christian. You got to be able to get your head game right at the free throw line. 138, basically 139 offensive rating individually with a 31% usage rate across 25-ish, 26 minutes a game. Not enough necessarily, but you mentioned in the game video they really like saving Christian Wood and having him be that spark plug, making sure he doesn't get hurt as he has. But the most games he's played in the season is like 35 or 40 up to this point. So you definitely will want to make sure he's not getting hurt, bringing him in somewhat slowly. But yeah, he's a huge matchup problem for these Nets tonight. 23rd in the league in points in the paint allowed are the Nets. They allow the 5th most free throw attempts a game as well, which is great for Christian Wood, who you saw getting to the line about 9 times in that last matchup that they lost to the Pellies, but he's still just crashing and getting a ton of free throw attempts as well. So you got to like the points for him tonight against a Nets team that continues to be one of the worst defensive teams in the league.
There will come a time to fade Christian Wood, but it's not here yet. It's not against the Nets team on a back-to-back that is just shown no fight on defense. I mean, they were decent against the Bucks, I guess, guarding the interior last night. Still gave up double-digit offensive rebounds once again. Like you mentioned, they have the worst defensive rebounding rate. they've given up the 8th most paint points right now and the 8th most free throw attempts. So Wood's been living at the line and just been living off feeds from Luka, who should have his way as well. So I also going to take another Mav here. Spencer Dinwiddie with the revenge narrative, plus just the fact that Brooklyn isn't guarding anybody. The prop is at 15.5 points for Dinwiddie. Not the greatest odds there. I think you can add a few rebounds. 19.5 is near even money here. Or the 22.5 PRA because he is diming people up. And look, he scored 22 in his last game against the Pellies. Got 38 minutes because of the way the Pellies play. I mean, Brooklyn's also kind of playing small right now. If they don't go with Claxton, then they're definitely going to be small enough for the Mavs to want to start or play Dinwiddie starter minutes here. And the last time he played Brooklyn in this revenge spot, the Nets sort of felt like he wasn't worth it coming off the ACL. He went for 22, 4, and 3, and that was starting alongside both Luka and Brunson usage monsters. This season, he has a nice 22% usage rate. He's averaging 18 points, so you don't need many peripheral stats for him to get that 22.5 PRA. And we're talking about a Brooklyn team that's allowing 120 points per game, that allows the 6th most points to both point guards and shooting guards right now. And on a back-to-back last year, they allowed their most rebounds per game, and they allowed 112. So it's a good situation to target a few Mavs players.
Yeah, I was much higher on Dinwiddie to start the season. I haven't loved how he's played. I know he's still doing, getting that 22% usage rate, which is what you would expect. Like, he is the new Jalen Brunson, if you will. It's just he's bigger, he's faster, but Jalen was craftier and definitely a better guy at dishing. So yeah, the points and rebounds is definitely where you prefer to talk about Dinwiddie. Is he's really just turned into an off-ball scorer at this point, who can have the ball in his hands occasionally when he's on the floor with Luka, but he's more, like I said, off ball with when Luka's on the floor. So I prefer the points and rebounds there for him. As you say, Dr. Revenge here. I'm never going to tell you not to go with an angle that you are seeing here for a revenge game for a guy like Dinwiddie. So I'm with you on the 19.5 points and rebounds combined there. I'm going to take a guy whose props are super high, but it's Ja Morant, so I'm not really that worried about it. And it's Ja Morant and the Grizzlies with their worst defensive rating taking on the Sacramento Kings with their 9th or 8th worst defensive rating, depending on how you look at it. Ja's points, I'm going to take the assist. His points, unsurprisingly, is 30.5 tonight. At minus 125 is the over. Definitely, they're trying to incentivize you there with that under 30.5 for him at even money. But, I like the assist added in there as well. 37.5 points and assists combined. He's averaging 42 points and assists combined this season so far. I understand that it's only through 4 games, but that's 33 minutes a game with a 36% usage rate and 122 individual offensive rating. Like I said, scoring 33 points a game 35.5 points a game in 33 minutes, man. Like, unbelievable. 55% from the field, 60% from 3. And that's what we talk about with Ja. Is he going to come back down to earth? If he's shooting 5 threes a game and if he's making 2 of them, is he going to come back down to earth? I think from the 3 a game, he's gonna. But I mean, he's also getting 11 free throw attempts, man. Like, this dude is efficient. He's shot out of a cannon. And if you watch those games, it's not like he's just making nonsensical shots. He's controlling the entire game with his stop and start ability and his ability to get quickly into the air, second jumps as a 6'3" dude. I know I'm just just giving him all the flowers right now, but I'm just really feeling good about him getting 37.5 points and assists when he's averaging, like I said, 42.5 of them. So
yeah, I mean, through 1 week, it's Ja or Jason Tatum as MVP. That's where we're at. And Ja, it's interesting. It doesn't really matter the matchup, but it's interesting that he hasn't blown up against the Kings yet because, like I just talked about with Bane, they gave up a ton of points to point guards and shooting guards. Both him and De'Aaron Fox have been quiet in the last 2 meetings. That's because one of them was lopsided, and then you look at the previous one, Ja only had 12 points on 12 shots. Dylan Brooks took 28 shots in that game. And I think he got 30 points out of it, but I think they've had some conversations behind closed doors about, Dylan, stop taking your stupid step back 2s with a foot on the line instead of giving the ball to Ja and letting him run the offense. And the way the Grizzlies are playing this year, they can't defend. So that has led to a lot more offense on both ends. Definitely would be scared to take the under on De'Aaron Fox either because of how we're going to be going up and down here. And I'm scared to take any unders on Ja until we see him go less than 30. So the prop's still kind of low.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I'll be one of the few probably watching that game somewhat late at night tonight, but still feeling like there's plenty of action to be had in that one. Keegan Murray also making his first start for the Kangs tonight, so that'll be a pretty interesting game with a lot of offense. 236.5 still the total in that one. So that is all the time we have for you guys in this one. As we say, we're going to look to stay super hot in our last 3 days, 12-2 on these player props. So we will look to have a strong end to the week here. And until we see you next, happy betting.